Good to go with the recording.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is great to have you here today with us as we dive into the food industry and the necessary changes that are upon us. I want to give a huge thank you for the partners that made this event happen. Yara Simoni, Food Tech Manager at the Israel Export Institute, Laura Jenkins, Director of Partnerships at Global SF, who will be sharing a few words later on, our counterparts in the New York office, and of course, our dear speakers and participating companies for sharing their knowledge and expertise with us. Before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping. We are eager to have you join the conversation. So please raise your hand to speak and you can unmute yourself. If you're shy, you're more than welcome to send us a question in the chat and we would raise the question on your behalf. Right now, everybody's muted. You are able to unmute yourself, but please don't do that before you type in the chat or raise your hand so we can make sure we don't have any background noises disrupting the session. For those new faces in the crowd, my name is Ray Roth. I am the Director of Innovation and Business Development at the Israel Economic Mission San Francisco. We have 4 missions in the US. We have a New York office, DC office, and Texas as we work to support trade between the US and Israel. Our mission is to help our local network, that's you, access Israeli innovation across all industries. Please use us as a resource, whether you're looking for specific solutions or just wanting to discover what's new in your field. Now, like many other industries, the pandemic has pointed out weaknesses in the daily operation and management of the food supply chain. Inability to access global supply chain brought a resilience and a reliance on farm-to-table services. Changes in product demand raised the need for a real-time demand and supply tracking system for better allocation of produce, not to mention the growing percentage of food waste, estimated at $1 trillion each year. We have a great lineup of speakers today sharing insights from their global experience and a highly skillful audience tuning in. Please mind that we created this event as a meeting setup so you can all participate. I invite you to join the conversation and share your feedback and know-how with us. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our partner in this event, Laura Jenkins, Director of Partnerships at Global SF, to say a few words. Laura, the stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited about today's program, and thank you, Ray, for your introduction. As Ray mentioned, I'm Laura Jenkins. I'm the Director of Partnerships at Global SF, and I want to extend my thanks to Moran and Ray with the Israel Economic Mission to the West Coast, as well as the Israel Export Institute for your partnership in hosting this unique opportunity to connect innovation between Israel and San Francisco virtually. I'll be brief because I know we're all anxious to jump into learning more about what the future holds in terms of food tech challenges, solutions, and innovation in Israel and the Bay Area. For background, Global SF is a 501c3 nonprofit with 3 regional initiatives, China SF, Latin SF, and SF Asia, which are public-private partnerships with the city of San Francisco, and we support economic relations and partnerships at the global level. So we also partner with the state of California, and we're here to support entrepreneurs, companies, funds, investment from around the world expanding to the Bay Area, and we also help companies already based here to expand globally. So we are helping companies at different stages to expand their international operations and make introductions to the right partners free of charge. So our team is here to support you and your success. And we partner with the Israel Economic Mission to the West Coast and trusted partners here in San Francisco to make that happen. Which brings me to our first keynote speaker, Manuel Gonzalez, who is the founder and managing partner of Global RIF, the Revolution in Food Fund. Based here in San Francisco, Global RIF is an integrated innovation and investment platform that seeks to discover, invest, and develop founders leading the revolution in food, which is all of you. So Manuel has decades of experience in food innovation and was previously managing director and global head of startup innovation for Rabobank. He founded Food Bites and Terra franchises And he is on the advisory boards for AgFunder as well as MISTA, another partner of Global SF, and a food innovation ecosystem, an optimizer, as they say. So more than an incubator or an accelerator, they are working with startups and established corporates to optimize ideas, products, people, and investments. So with that, I welcome Manuel.
Hello, Laura. Thank you very much for the very kind words. And let me start by sharing my screen very quickly so I can start talking to you about the topic. So let's see. I think this is it. So I'm not going to talk about me because you already did. So yes, many years in food, in Rabobank, in Mexico, here in the US, and now, creating my own thing in RIF. So you already spoke about venture capital and what we do with companies. We're a very young firm, so very soon we're going to start investing, so stay tuned. And I was invited to talk about food safety and supply chain waste in light of COVID. And I will, and you will see some of the numbers that I think you already have heard and know about. But there are actually three things I really want to talk about, and that is fortitude, stoicism, and love of community. So let's dive into it. So this is the thing, and this is the reality. There has never been a time in history where we have produced so much food, much more food than we can consume. But 1/3 of the global production is lost or wasted. And 880 million people approximately face starvation every day. So food is growing more expensive because of bundled supply chains and things like currency devaluation, despite the abundant supply. And 1/10 of the world goes hungry. And this is before COVID. So let's see what happened with COVID. And by the numbers, very simple. So 132 million more people than previously projected could go hungry. 909 million undernourished people against the pre-COVID number of 40 million. So that means 12,000 people could die every day from hunger. And women and girls, of course, gender inequality make it 60% of the population facing chronic hunger. So how is the US doing? Is the US doing any better than this? Let's see. The numbers. GDP growth annualized Q2 was minus 32.9%. And consumption, business investment, residential investment, it all take a hit, more or less same orders of magnitude. And this is despite government spending rising by 17.4%. However, food retail was up 12.8%. Food is food. Through all these years and being from Mexico, spending a lot of time in venture markets, I've seen a lot of crises. Food always does well because, well, we eat, right? We need to stay alive. So food is always a very resilient sector. Food service, of course, restaurants did take an amazing, incredible hit, 52% drop in April. It did improve a little bit in May, June, July because of the stimulus payments, but that is ending, so we will see what happens. It's food service, already a very hard business. It's only getting harder. And this was, you see in this graph, more or less the image of the downturn and recovery. And when you see the dotted line is the first projection. And then the solid line in green, it was the projection more or less in May. So you see there minus 25% more or less. So it was worse than the worst projection. We are not going to recover in Q3, but models are usually wrong. What's important is to look at what the image looks like. Now, when you look at the magnitude, it is important to understand that when you see things coming back, it doesn't mean it comes back as the way it was before COVID. It is going to take time to go back to before COVID, but things get better. When? I don't know. but this is more or less how, the image looks like. But what about food? Big difference. So food and beverage, as always, does a lot better than the rest. Very resilient. It's a good place to be. Pet services also, other services did better, are doing better, will continue to do better. So that's food. Now, as I was saying, we produce more than enough calories to meet every individual's needs. According to the FAO, I think we produce enough to give something like 2,200 calories to every individual on Earth. But there are increasing levels of food insecurity, even in places that used to have relative stability. In the US, for example, more than 5 million people can't afford a healthy diet. And about a third of the people that today are relying on food banks are doing it for the first time. That's big. So you see, waste, cost, and logistics really prevent food surplus from shift from where they are being produced to where they are needed, right? So we see here in California, the fields are being planted and harvested, but there's a complete imbalance. The problem with what happened in the food service was that a whole part of the market dropped. So even when there were people buying food, there was a whole part of the market and types of products that were not going to food service. So for example, the potato that goes to food service isn't the same thing as the potato that goes to your house. It's a different potato. So, those things, imbalances. So costs are going up throughout the world for rich and for poor. How do we solve this? So let's look at history. And I'm going to be telling you a couple of stories and the way I see things. Look at this. This is to 1918 and the pandemic outbreak of that time. If you look at, cities, the comparison of cities that had longer intervention and shorter intervention. Longer intervention is red, shorter is in gray. So not only you have lower mortality with higher intervention, but also after the pandemic, you had a higher employment gains. Now I'm a banker and I like to hedge. So whenever we were looking at things and we saw that you could be wiped out by hedging, you would hedge. And call me crazy, but I don't want to die. I don't want to be exterminated. So when I think about masks, do they work? Don't they work? Well, let's assume we don't know. But if they work, they can save my life or somebody else's life. If they don't work, they are an inconvenience. So the premium for inconvenience, survival. That seems to me a very good hedge. I think we should take it. So that, takes us to stoicism, fortitude, and love of community. All I need is to accept an inconvenience to hedge against death. Let's just think about that. Going back to how do we solve this? Innovation and technology. So we need to radically change how we produce, distribute, and consume food. We need to double food supplies and access over the next 30 years. We've all seen those numbers without affecting the environment and making food nutritious and affordable. So we need an injection of capital that goes far beyond what governments can do, what strategic and incumbents can do. But this is where venture capital, private equity, and all the institutional and personal investors can do. So we need to invest in technology, and we need the regulatory impetus to use it. And here comes another story. So I was reading the Wall Street Journal because that's what bankers do. And there was this op-ed from a guy, and the op-ed said, California is out to get you. And they were talking about, in particular, the power outages we had recently because of the heat, and complaining about how California has been doing all this clean energy thing, blah, 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 blah. And this is, and I go back to, banker hedging, and I think, well, the climate models are probably wrong because models are always wrong, but that's not the point of models. The point of models is to understand risk. So then you hedge it. And when my risk is global extermination, I would say I need to hedge that risk. because again, call me crazy, I don't want to die. So what happens? If my hedge just means that I'm going to have a few hot days during the year because I need new energy, I think that's pretty cool. I should do it. And it goes back to stoicism, fortitude, and love of community. Can I withstand a few really hot days? And I hated it. I am from Mexico. I don't like heat. I usually have air conditioning, but okay, I wear just shorts and, try to do certain things, go to the beach, whatever. But I think that's a pretty good catch. So these are the things that we're looking at. And when I look at the startups that are coming and here with the trade mission and everything, you see these things: upcycling, water usage, packaging, pollution, pesticides, robotics, all kinds of things that can be done to solve these things. And that's great. But I want to finish by telling you another story. And when you think about all this innovation and things that you're doing, my last story is about an ancient tribe, and I'm going to go back to the years when I was head of Rabobank in Mexico, and we were doing some work with some groups in southern Mexico, some native tribes, and working with them to maintain the jungle. And there were two groups: one, the Chontal tribe; the other one was the Lacandon tribe. The Chontal tribe is a little bit more Western, if you want to put it that way, than the Lacandon. So the Chontals, they use cows as a store of value. So what does that mean? If somebody in the family gets sick or they need money, they sell a cow. That's what they do. So what we were helping them to do is to look at their jungle and look at the trees with precious wood and understand that that is actually their best store of value. So we were working with them in maintaining the jungle, and recovering a lot of it, and to understand what the value of the tree is and how to manage a forest to make it economically viable, so that you keep the jungle and keep the trees, but then also, use it as a value, which is fine. It works. And they were loving it. There was a whole change in the community. It was very interesting to see. In the case of the Lacandon, it's a little bit different because the Lacandon hunt with bow and arrow. So for them, the jungle is not a store of value, but the way that's how they find their food. They hunt. And it was very interesting to see, how they hunt birds and monkeys and jaguar. Is just incredible. And it's pretty humbling. For them, it was about maintaining the jungle for that, but they still needed a cash crop. But it couldn't be corn, because for corn, you need to burn the jungle so you can plant corn. So we were working with them and thinking about shade coffee and fern, other things that can grow under the canopy so they could have a cash crop. So what does this mean? When you think about robotics and when you think about, trees, yes, not, whatever, think about the communities and the consequences to them. When we're doing all this innovation, are we eliminating farmers? Are we eliminating the livelihood of communities? Are we, what is the balance? Animals, biodiversity, trees, furniture, I don't know. What is the balance? Let's think about community when we make changes. Let's think about these three things: stoicism, fortitude, and community, as a way to solve all our challenges. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manuel, for this presentation. If we have any questions from the audience, or if anybody wants to hop on and join the conversation, either ask Manuel questions or comment about the presentation, please type in the chat and feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, Amy Zeidelman here. I'm based in Philadelphia, co-founder and CEO of Zoom Foods. I was wondering if you could speak to the role of the consumer in all of this, as a small food purveyor, working with manufacturers who ultimately work with the farmers and then the exporters. I mean, what can we do to persuade the consumer to buy into this to be able to move everything forward?
You know, it's all about communication. And you know, the one big change that we experienced, I would say, over the last 15 years, more than any other time, was the change in the difference in the way in which companies communicate with their consumer. You know, in the past, the way you used to communicate was TV, you know, print, your packaging on retail. Social media has changed that and actually leveled the playing field, because smaller companies like yours had access to the place where consumers were listening. And that's what social media does. So communication and your communication strategy is really, really important. The attention market share. How do you earn that attention market share for a consumer? It is very difficult, but it's way cheaper. Very expensive. but that's the way. You need to find, you know, the number one thing you need to do is understand who your consumer is and where they are. How are you going to find them and how you're going to talk to them? And that's the key. And it is not simple, but I think many times companies spend a lot of time thinking about their product and not enough time thinking about how to talk to their consumer. And in the end, that's how you're going to sell. So you can have the best product, but maybe it doesn't sell because people didn't even know who you are and what you're about.
Right. Well, I guess what I was referring to was maybe collective opportunity for larger corporations or larger groups of company to help, you know, inform consumers about why they should be making or maybe even paying more for products that are doing the community work, that are doing the, you know, sustainability work on their supply chain. But maybe there's a future for more collaboration, you know, coming from the top.
Yeah, you know, that's the activism side. In the end, you know, consumer votes with their wallets.
Right.
Sometimes they pay, sometimes they don't. It's hard to tell, but you know, when you think about alternative protein, the reality is that people are paying more for a plant-based solution, and this is because animal welfare has a very strong emotional influence in people. So it is very important that you know, the emotional content of what you say is there. People need to really feel it, and that's not easy. You need to find where is that emotional. And yeah, I mean, if you come together as a group in your field, it is easier. But on the other hand, if you want to wait until big companies and strategics are behind you, maybe you should, you know, get a really good coffee and sit down. It doesn't happen that easily. So don't wait, in my view.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Manuel. Our next speaker has over 25 years of experience in R&D, production, and global collaboration in the food tech arena. She has worked within startups in Israel, across the board in the food industry solutions, and now she's a part of the executive team at Fresh Start, a food innovation incubator based in Israel. Dr. Tami Meron is focused on promoting breakthrough technologies in order to bring global good industry solutions to its immediate and future needs. Tami, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Just want to share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So hello, everybody. Let's try to figure out what is so special about the Israeli food tech ecosystem, and why are we considered as worldwide pioneers in the food tech industry? Well, Israel has limited resources of land and water, and it has been under continuous threat ever since it was incepted. So in order to survive, we had to be innovative, both in agriculture and then in the food processing. I will share with you two specific examples of Israeli innovation from its early stage. One of them is the teftefet, Teftefet is a water dripping irrigation system that results in 70% increase of crop yields while saving 50% in water consumption. The company that was built based on this technology, Netafim, is considered nowadays one of the worldwide leading companies in water irrigation systems. The first Israeli food tech innovation was done also back in the 50s when there was limited resources of rice in Israel. And our Prime Minister Ben-Gurion realized that a lot of immigrants arrived from different countries and they were used to eat rice and couscous, which was limited at that time. So he approached the Israeli industry, and they actually developed the first rice alternative, which is also being presented today in the US in well-known restaurants. So if we talk about innovation in any field, the disruptive and deep technology arrives many times from the academia. Sorry, I cannot see my screen. Just a minute. Okay, maybe this is better. It arrives from the academia. However, academia persons and also young entrepreneurs are typically inexperienced in bringing a project or early project into the market. As a PhD student at the Hebrew University, I've met brilliant professors that are fully dedicated to the research. And as a startup expert in building technologies from the early stage of concept for the past 11 years, I've met with hundreds of industry and investment teams. And their focus is completely different. The professor is looking and interested in findings and inventions that he can later on publish in a highly prestigious scientific journals, while the industry and investment teams, they are actually looking for good business opportunities. So Israeli organizations such as Fresh Start Food Tech Incubator is capable to bridge the gap between an early project and the market opportunity. Fresh Start is intended to support more than 40 startups in order to bring the global industry next generation technological solutions. We are part of the Israeli Innovation Authority Incubators program, and we have a unique syndicate representing the best of Israeli industry and the best of global VC. We guide the startups teams from a very early stage to bring them to the next stage, highly prepared in terms of proof of concept, scale up, joint ventures, IP strategy, regulation, and of course, go-to-market strategy. Fresh Start is part of a larger program led by the Israeli Ministry of Economy to create an agri-food cluster at the north of Israel, and of course, we are joining forces with our local partners. Talking about the future of supply chain, waste reduction, and food safety, especially in light of the COVID-19 that emphasized the need to able to control each step of the supply chain and be able to operate on a domestic level, we are talking about big data and AI solutions. Now, since I saw the list of startups that are going to speak in a short while, since a lot of them are dealing with this field of AI and big data collection, I'm going to highlight additional important issues in my speech. If we are talking about supply chain, it doesn't matter if you arrive from the industry, if you are an entrepreneur or an investor. We all should be aware to the fact that the familiar definition of supply chain from farm to fork is being updated. It is not the same as we knew. Now, to make a very, very long story short, it is practically a matter of supply and demand. Demand, as everybody knows, maybe in this forum, demand is going to grow since the world population is expected to reach 10 billion by 2050. And the way we grow and process our raw materials today is not effective. If we take meat as an example, for each calorie in our plate, we have to invest at least 19 calories in the breeding stage, not mentioning the extra energy required for processing and further until it reaches our dinner table, not mentioning the climate and the ethics and so on. So within the updated supply chain, we are talking about cultured meat or alternative meat. And here we're talking about different supply chain. We are starting with a lab dish that has a specific cell line inside, and at the end of the supply chain, we receive the meat alternative. Another example for updated supply chain is the fermentation technology that is also being adopted from the biotech industry. If we take as an example, Perfect Day, it's an American, California-based startup started at 2014. With this technology of fermentation, they actually able to skip the animal or the plant phase. They use microorganisms, food-grade microorganisms, in order to produce the proteins, and they make proteins of cow without the cow. And this specific company, Perfect Day, at July 2019, they sold their first prototype ice cream within hours online, and they accomplished all the ice cream. And recently, on May 2020, they got FDA approval for the whey proteins as grass material. So it's happening. Now, if we are talking about updated supply chain, of course, at the end, there are the consumers. The consumers, they have their own concepts and their opinions, and they are looking for different and improved food choices. They are aware today to the health and wellness, sustainability, ethics, animal welfare, and of course, they are looking also for transparency. Now, in the field of waste reduction, it depends how you count it, but about 50% of the farming output is not being consumed. And it happens through all the value chain. So I will give you some examples. Fruits that are too small or don't have the perfect look are not even being collected, although they can have an excellent taste profile and highly nutritional value. In other cases, only parts of the plants are being consumed or processed. And in more drastic situations, fish are being bred in order to extract a special pigment for the cosmetic and food industries. So if we are talking about waste reduction, there is a long way to go. But I can share with you that the global industry is there. There are advanced projects happening nowadays in the global big industries trying to mitigate this waste reduction. One case study is the aquafaba, which is the remaining water after we cook legumes. So it is actually being applied in many food applications as egg white albumin replacement, and this is one example. On your right, you can see a case study, students in my class of new product development last year. They took the beer waste and developed rich in protein and dietary fibers crackers to eat beside the beer. It's a kind of holistic case study. And they also developed a design for beer cases and glass bottles. If we are talking about food safety, so globally, every year, about 400,000 people die and about 600 million people fall ill after eating contaminated food. So, and the optional contamination sources are bacteria, virus, parasites, and chemicals. And it happens through all the value chain, from the raw material through production, distribution, storage, and during preparation, of course. And here also, if we want to talk about current challenges, there is the growing demand and the climate changes, and the industry is global, and the risks are getting increased and increased, more big and big. Here again, I must mention the utilization of big data and AI through all the value chain in order to improve the safety, of course, and also the utilization of big data and AI could help us to minimize the use of pesticides and antibiotics, which could also be harmful themselves. And next generation sustainable solution include purifying production environment, working surfaces treatment, and I saw one of my colleagues here is going to talk about it, so I will not. And also shortening the time of QC quality control tests, especially important in short shelf life products such as fresh cuts, meats, dairy products, and so on. This is it on a nutshell. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. I invite people from the audience to raise a question or two before we move on to our next speaker. Okay, do you have anyone on the line?
They can also approach me later on. It's okay.
Wonderful. So kind of continuing from what Tammy mentioned about food waste and maybe losing the undesirable fruit or fish or meat because us consumers eat with our eyes, our next speakers are pioneers of everyone. George, can you mute everyone? So. All right, so our next speakers are pioneers of a unique food sharing concept. Robin Food NGO is a sustainability and food waste prevention initiative, starting from the first food rescue restaurant and now developing a marketplace for food surplus between consumers and organizations across the supply chain. Nick, Shari, we are eager to learn more. Please share your screen with us.
Yes, can you hear me? Wonderful. So thank you for the introduction and the kind words. I'm Nick Shari from Robin Food. Before I will start, I want to show you a video of our CEO and co-founder, Shai Rilov, who is unfortunately today could not be here only because he has a little minor thing which is more important than being here, and it's his wedding day. So we made a special video for the occasion. I will be sharing the screen of the video, and then I will continue with a short PowerPoint.
Hi, my name is Shai Rilov, co-founder and CEO of Robin Food NGO. I've come to see the social, environmental, and economic fields as part of one interdependent web. which can be seen through the lens of sustainability. While our resources are depleting and our carbon footprint is endangering humanity's survival, and a culture of insatiable consumption feeds the goal of infinite economic growth in a finite planet, food waste is perhaps the most ridiculous problem that humanity has, a prime issue that must be addressed and changed dramatically. If food waste was a country, it would be the third largest carbon emitter on the planet after China and the US. We produce enough food on the planet to feed every single person, and even more. Yet more than 800 million live in food insecurity. Under current trends, global food production will need to increase by 60% by 2050, which is near impossible if we don't address how we eat today. If all that doesn't blow your mind, here's one more taste of the food waste scandal. The global economic cost of food waste is around $750 billion. That's around the GDP of Switzerland. There are many approaches to address food waste. In the last 5 years, we've been raising food waste awareness by reaching people's hearts through their bellies. We established Israel's first restaurant based on rescued food. Fruits and vegetables that would otherwise be wasted from farms, markets, and shops, with an ever-changing menu according to what was rescued. Each diner, lawyers, students, and homeless alike, pay as they feel. That means each person decided the value of the food and the experience and could pay with their money, time, or skills. The operation was maintained by close to 1,000 volunteers of all ages from around Israel and around the world to help expand our impact and also to support the operation. We were extensively covered by media in Israel and around the world and the subject of an award-winning documentary. While we are an NGO, we see ourselves as a social impact venture and like a startup finding innovative solutions with agile execution together with the community. We are now transitioning into the next stage of our impact, developing a food sharing app with a holistic approach, which helps prevent waste through the whole food chain for consumers and businesses alike.
And now I will share the presentation again. Hope everyone could see the video in a good quality and enjoyed it.
Fantastic video.
Thank you. Okay, so 1 second, I will make another part disappear so you will see everything in a good way. Okay, so I would like to share with you, first of all, our mission statement and our vision, which is to open an accessible door for all to achieve a more sustainable lifestyle while saving money and connecting to your local community by making the sharing economy a community venture. So after Shai, Manuel, and Tammy, there is no need to elaborate any more about the problem of food waste. But please let me take you just for one local piece of information about the social problem part of the food waste. And this is the 100% increase in the food donation demand in Israel alone, while 1/3 of the food waste happens in the household level. So why we think we are the one who can really make the difference? After 5 years of working together with the community and making and being part of the movement for food waste in Israel, we bring the practice and the infrastructure to take it to the next level. And the next level is the Robin Food app. It's a platform which is a one-stop shop for food sharing and sustainability. The main functions which I want to share with you is the C2C, consumer-to-consumer surplus sharing, free of charge for both sides, the one who share and the one who rescue the food. The second is the D2C, direct-to-consumer. We provide a channel for the manufacturers and suppliers to sell their surplus and short-term products for a discounted price. The next one is the B2B, which is a marketplace for large amounts of surplus or short terms, either for hotels or retirement houses or any other business or social business who know to deal with big amounts and want to save some money. The last is, again, giving back to the community, the B2NGO model, which is rescue, how we call the food that is nearly wasted, and give it to the community through the NGOs and the organizations in the infrastructure of the unique marketplace. The B2B is also part of the revenue model to make all this process work and fund. So when I talk about businesses and organizations, we talk about the whole value chain, from farms, producers, suppliers, retailers, caterers, restaurants, and of course, the consumer. The value we bring to the businesses is, first of all, a smart use of the surplus, be able to reduce the loss of the sales. In Israel alone, the numbers is between 2% and 6% of loss, money value loss for the producers and the retailers. Access to the most relevant consumer for surplus, which is one of our uniqueness that we provide in the platform. And of course, the social environmental recognition and the SDG goals, which are the goals we promoting, and we give the businesses the opportunity to promote as well. Value for consumer is, one second before I continue, I just want to make sure you're still hearing me, because I don't know if the screen is still sharing. So can anyone mark me that you still hear me when I'm in the sharing mode? Yeah, okay, thank you. I don't see any videos or anyone else. So I'm going back to the presentation. So I was talking about the value we bring to the consumers. We give them the opportunity to reduce the waste, the 1/3 that I was talking about in the household level, reducing the food cost. Manuel before said that money is what the consumer understand and speak, and we able to give them the option to save money, not only save the planet. The ability to connect to the neighbors and give back to the local community, as today during the post-pandemic period we are living in, is much more important, because we understood that it's not someone else who needs. It can be our neighbor, it can be you, it can be us. Another thing is the tips and the tools and the info we bring to the consumer about the food waste issue and about all the environmental things that can interest him. And the last thing is to become a food rescue hero, because our main approach is that the people who rescue the food, who share the food or collect the food, are not the needy, are not the 18% who live in food insecurity. It's for everyone, and the one who do it are the heroes who make the change. So during the years and now, we worked with many partners and supporters, which we are grateful for. The team, first and before everything, is the huge community of Robin Food and the volunteers. We have a big team of hands-on volunteers from the tech industry and from any other industries who are relevant for us to promote this, and we are grateful for their help to bring the solution and what Robin Food brings to the community. And where we are now. So in the next quarter, we are releasing the beta version and starting a local pilot community. What's happening in the same time is that we are establishing a connection with major food industry actors in Israel and building with them all the infrastructure for the D2C, B2B, B2NGO levels. Preparing for seed funding and impact investments, and our vision after the local beta site in Israel, which is the best place to have a beta site, is a global reach and global connections. So thank you for listening. I will be happy to answer any questions or meet with any of you tomorrow.
Thank you, Nick. Nick will actually be continuing to the food waste breakout room, so you can catch up with him then. Or as he said, we do have a meeting day for all companies. Everybody presenting today will be available for meetings tomorrow. I have shared via the chat a link to register for one-on-one meetings for tomorrow. Up next, as we conclude our main session, we have our 3 breakout sessions led by industry specialists. In the food waste room, we have Alexa Cadley, zero waste specialist from San Francisco Environment, City of San Francisco. In the supply chain room, we have Walt Deflock, executive innovation leader at Thrive EdTech USA. And then we have Jonathan Berger, CEO of the Kitchen Innovation Hub by the Strauss Group Israel. In each room, you'll have the presenting company. You have all selected your room in advance. Once we break out to the rooms, after the room session ends, that would conclude our sessions. You would all be receiving recording of each of the sessions. And of course, I invite you to connect with the companies or request an introduction to any of our speakers today. It has been a pleasure being with you here today. And I wish you a fruitful session in the breakout rooms. You will
Thank
all
you,
be
Ray.
getting the link quite fast. Thanks. 1 second. All right, we'll see you in the breakout rooms.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So if everyone's ready, we could just start off with Kontgard and Oren Basili. I will give you the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me just share my screen. So let me know if you see the screen because I don't see.
Not yet.
Oren, sorry to interrupt you. Before you begin presenting, I want to give the floor to Walt to give us the intros.
Okay.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, George. Yeah, no, I think it's great to start with the company straight away. So if you, I don't see your screen yet, Oren, but yeah, I thought the general session was great. We've got plenty to talk about with supply chain. We'll start with the companies, and then we'll dive into a more general discussion.
Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So basically in this supply chain segment, our main mission here is to have a cargo monitoring and to have a data analysis and analytics. And this is our main concern regarding this section. Of course, the food industry is one segment among other segments that we support. So let's start with the problem. If you can see it, the main problem today is what we call the black hole. Is about 70% of all goods are in transit at all times. And this means that we have a lot of handoffs touching the containers, the maritime container or the trucks all around the world with the high potential of different kind of security issues, quality issues, and of course, supply chain deficiencies. According to the FBI reports, about 55 billions are in direct losses, and about more than 4 times or maybe 10 times are in indirect losses. So the main issue here is the 100% uncertainty of what happens with the cargo, with the goods in transit, regarding no visibility. You don't have any kind of cargo quality and risk issues. Of course, lack of schedules, ETA, potential ETA, estimated ETA, and no contingency planning issues. So basically, what is Conduct? What we do? We are a solution provider of both real-time monitoring and post-shipment analysis of this good in transit. Our main issue here is we're using IoT devices, tracking devices which we attach to the cargo. And this IoT device, this cargo, actually collects an enormous amount of data that we collect into our databases, and we activated very sophisticated algorithms in order to provide very meaningful and valuable and actionable insights. This is very important because this is a first-hand data. This is not a third-party or third-part data which is not on our control. We control on the data 100% of the time. And using our this information, you can both mitigate risk, you can improve, of course, the business decisions, and of course, you can optimize all the supply chain processes. As you can see, our partnership and ecosystem is starting from AXA Ventures, City Ventures, AXA, and a VC in Israel named Canaan Partners. So how do we do this? Basically, we provide the IoT devices, the tracking devices, which you can see in this slide. Each tracking device is according to the customer needs, whether it's a dry container, it's a loose cargo, or any kind of a reefer container. We actually hand this and provide it to the customer. The customer does not have to buy it, lease it, or maintain it. So we have all the logistics and the reverse logistic issues. We provide, as I said, the live shipment analysis. If there's any kind of an issue, we have a security center 24/7, which we can notify our customers whether there's some kind of deviation from route, any kind of safety issues, stolen goods, any kind of quality issues regarding temperature or humidity or impacts. And of course, we have the analytics, which is the post-shipment, which actually converge a lot of shipments, thousands of shipments, we can provide very meaningful and valuable insights. We have what we call a GON, which is our partners all around the world. We support about 100 countries, and we have a live assistant in the native language all around those countries. So here is the main, the key benefit that, as I said, that we provide, which is security, quality, and different kind of supply chain, ETA, inventory efficiencies, and of course, all of these are supported the business growth. So this is one part of the logistic side. All of this together is being presented in what we call a CGI platform, which is an exception-based platform, which we present all the live and the post-shipment insights in a very neat and very easy to understand map view. Here you can see one shipment which is going from Italy to Japan, so we can present the route and different kind of events that we collected. This is with the real time. Here we can we monitor the no open event, which is a suspected theft issue. We present the location and the time of this specific event. Here we can present you an strong impact event. Again, we can know the exact location and what is the issue that we encountered. This is with the real time. With the post shipments is we actually can present it in a few ways, but here we present it in a route manner. So we can see here we collected a lot of shipments and we present the different kind of exceptions that we collected. We have different kind of statistic measurements. We present here, according to the filters and any kind of data manipulation, we can present the different location of those theft issues or humidity issues or impact issues, and this could be very significant in order to manage the supply chain events. In addition, we have what we call a stop view, which we can monitor the stop location of a truck, if it's according to a protocol, where it was stopped, if it was any kind of exceptions like door open in those locations, or any kind of issues. Everything here is presented with a map. Everything is stored as it can be collected and manipulated later on in order to optimize those processes. Here we can see our main customers in different kind of verticals: tobacco, pharmaceutical, automotive, of course, food and security. Our current stage is we actually completed round A. We actually raised $2.5 million. We're just initiating round B, and we're looking for about between $5 to $10 million. So this is very, very, very quick. I hope that I was able to condense everything in in this limited time. And if you have questions.
All right, Oren, thanks. There was a lot of great information. We have time for one quick question before we jump to the next presentation.
I have a quick question. Are there any plans to implement this technology in small parcel? I'm based in the States, and I don't know how much you know about the challenges USPS is having. And as a small business, it's impossible to track. So just wondering if you had any goals to go even smaller.
We have, what we call the loose. As you can see here, the loose cargo, this one, in the middle. Right. So we can implement it in any kind of, loose package, depending of your exact requirements. But this has, in addition to all of this, it has a significant battery management. So it's not limited to every few days or few weeks. It can last for more than 3 months. So depending on your...
Like an inch?
This is about 4 inches, something like this.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you, Oren. Next up, we've got Rapid Farm, and I see Gil is on. And you can share your screen when you're ready.
Hi, everybody. Just 1 second. So, thank you very much. Hope you can see my screen. Basically, we are a farm management software combined with an online marketplace for fresh farm and produce. Our mission statement is to allow farmers to increase sales by improving the production chain management and to sell online directly to local customers. I will try to explain how we combine those two. Currently, we've been working with farmers for more than a year now. We have more than 170 farms in the US and Canada that are using the system, and some big farms in Africa also. We have a phone base in Kentucky with strong support from local farmers. And now we're looking for a partner or investor for both to increase our US footprint and to launch the e-commerce program that is already operating, but in order to launch it properly, we need some more fund. I know this is a very complex slide, but I will try to explain. I think it's important just to understand the scope of what we are doing. We call it from seed to sales. So basically, our system or the farmer can manage everything from the purchase, inventory, cost, how much products he has on his farm on any given time, what is the cost, how much fertilizer he's been using, either directly or by inside the irrigation, and also the irrigation itself. Each plot or greenhouse or plantation has its own data page, and everything is being controlled from the nursery stage after the harvest of course, and while all the crop is going to the storage. The interesting part, and above that there is more tools for HR management, task management, everything. So basically, this is an ERP, a full ERP system in that regard. It starts to be interesting when we are moving to the sales. So the farmers, or it can be either a medium farm or big farm, he knows exactly how much crop he has in his inventory in any given time, and he can share that with the retails and offer that and accept the orders, or he can sell via our e-commerce platform, what we call a fresh and local. And the idea is to allow a local customer to view in any given time all the farms in their area that are selling fresh produce, and to sell. All the transaction goes through us, and I will explain it in a second. So in that sense, the sales is being supported either by the fact that we are allowing the farmers to establish their own online store or to sell via our own portal, and to manage everything, including invoices, transaction, payment, income, and everything on one platform. We know for sure in our connection with farmers that they have solution, but it's very divided and it's not organized in one place. The issue of the e-commerce is we try to make it as simple as possible. Basically, the farmer, they list their products on the platform. This is what the customer can see, and after that they can issue an orders. The farmer get notified, and last mile delivery vendor that we're working with pick the order, and it can be from multiple farms and delivered to the customer. Just a couple of screenshots. I don't have time to go over the system. This is an example of some of the picture of the way they control. Everything is very easy and easy to use, and the farmer feedback is quite positive on that. And this is the way. Sorry for the blur picture, but this is the way the e-commerce platform looks like. And basically, I think this is trying to squeeze everything into the 5 minutes I had. If there is any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Great, Gil. Thank you. Yeah, we have time for a quick question before we go to the next presentation. If anyone has a question for Gil. Okay, and I wanted to remind everybody, as Ray mentioned, we've got the link in the chat. If anybody wants to set up a deeper conversation with any of the companies for tomorrow, that link is available, and you guys can get one-on-one and go as deep as you want to go.
I have a quick question if we have time.
Please.
What is the price setting mechanism and the commerce mechanism that you use?
You're talking about our price, or the way we charge the farmers? We charge the farmers for a subscription, and we charge. No,
how do you set the transaction price? The question about the transaction price.
Okay, basically the farmer sets the price of the products, and we charge 12% of the transaction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Next up, we have Step Back, and we have, I hope I'm not butchering the name, Ronnie.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. We are ready when you want to share your screen out.
Thank you very much, Walt. Hi, everyone. My name is Ronnie Kadosh, and I'm from Stepak. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So a few words to introduce the company and the technology. A second, I think it's going slow. Okay.
Now it's full screen.
Yes, just running slow between one slide to another. So Stepak is a part of Johnson Matthey, our mother company, which is based in the UK, founded in 1992. We are focusing on modify atmosphere, modify humidity packaging to extend shelf life of fresh produce, reduce waste in the supply chain, enhance the quality and the lifetime of the fruit and vegetables, and in the on the longer term to also, of course, increase, improve the consumer experience, able to eat a better fresh fruit and vegetable and not throwing part of it to the waste. So we have complementary post-harvest technologies. We have 3 granted patents. We are located, the headquarters is in Israel, R&D in Israel, in the UK, and we have a pretty wide network all around the world, which enable us to control and to assist our customers, both on the origin, but also on the destination market. And we are involved in a lot of transactions of food, fruit and vegetables, which are shipped from one continent to another using our technology to pack the fruit and vegetables. So the idea of the modified atmosphere, modified humidity technology in a nutshell is to like put the fruit into a coma. We elevate CO2, we lower oxygen up to the point where we call it the sweet point, where the produce inside breathes slower and respires slower. And that's obviously maintaining and extending the shelf life of the produce. And it goes hand by hand with the cool chain, which is very important to support our technology. So whoever use our modified atmosphere packaging has to maintain a cool chain all along the journey to get the utmost out of our technology. There are different formats. The traditional format is what we call the bulk. In this, for example, I'm based in San Diego, and I'm in charge of the activity in the North America market. So we sell this bag to many of the growers in Mexico, which are exporting their produce into the US. So that's one format, the bulk. We have a patent for iceless packaging, and that's eliminate the ice from the inside of the packaging and reducing the risk for contamination because of using ice. It's much more efficient in terms of logistics, in space, and of course, it's extending the shelf life as the rest of our technologies. Another format could be the top seal leading film, which is becoming very popular these days. Also standing pouches, format for flow pack. So our film could be also adaptable to machinery, whether it's a vertical or horizontal flow pack, and could be also in a format or a preform bag, which could be packed by hand manually if there is not machine involved. We serve different customers from all the supply chain range. It could be growers, it could be distributors, it could be importers, it could be packaging companies, and it could be retailers. So we touch, and whenever we are selling our technology, we look ourselves not only as a packaging manufacturer, but as a consultant and as a holistic approach to really support our customers all the way through the supply chain to make sure that everyone understands how to use the technology and what are the benefits for them. So in other words, we have to convince all the supply chain to use our technology in order to make it work. So again, the application expertise is reducing the waste, and that's relevant obviously both to the food waste, but also to the supply chain, because in many cases, what we are able to achieve with our technology and our customers is shifting a lot of the transactions of fruit and vegetables in the continent or between continent from freight, for example, to sea freight. By doing that, we save a lot of waste, but also save a lot of carbon footprint. So that's the main idea. We handle the post-harvest and the protocols and all the troubleshooting that are relevant for the process of the validation and the process of making our packaging work in a very good way. We have laboratories and R&D centers in Israel, in the UK, and also in South America, in Brazil, where we are testing all the different produce types and different packaging formats that we apply. Every packaging that we develop is tailor-made. And you can imagine that the respiration rate of a cucumber is different than an eggplant and is different than melon. And also it's depend of what's the size of the package and how much fruit or vegetable packed inside, whether it's 1 kilogram, 2 kilogram, or 5 kilogram. Everything make a difference for the specific micro perforation that we do on the bag to control the gas inside, the gas regime, and also the type of the nylon we're using to be able to control the modified humidity. As I mentioned before, we are active in 60 countries and we have reps in 23 countries that give us the ability to help our customers on both the origin and the destination. And that's a very critical part. It's not only selling the bag to a customer in one continent, it's also to make sure how the product arrived and giving him the feedback, how did it arrive and what needs to be changed or improved in order to make it work better. So we give this service to all of our customers. At the end of the day, what you can achieve by using Step Pack Extend technology is a better quality of for the customer, a reduction of the carbon footprint, as I mentioned, when you are shipping sea versus air freight, waste reduction in the supply chain, and you can also use the technology for season extension. Many of our customers are storing fresh produce within our packaging and trying to maintain the fruit for longer and trying to capture a better deal in the market where they can sell it in a higher price. So that's another advantage. The last packaging products helped to successfully deliver 540,000 tons of fresh produce around the globe, helping to prevent 50,000 tons of waste. This is something that obviously we are very proud of, and we look forward for any questions or any potential meetings that will come from this event. And thank you very much.
Okay, great, Ronnie. Well, we have time for one question before we get to our last company presentation. Does anybody have a quick question before we move on? Okay, no worries. And again, the link in the chat is to set up one-on-one meetings for tomorrow. And I see Trellis is right on it. Excellent, good work. You have the floor. And we can see your screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. So thanks, Walt. My name is Eli Englard. I'm the co-founder and CEO. We all know how extreme heat waves affect grape maturity. This has direct impact on harvest operations and winemaking economics. And helping Wine Country in California to address such challenges is an example to what we do. Our mission as a company is to predict supply and demand behavior and resolve inefficiencies and deliver opportunities to optimize food production. We do that by using AI and machine intelligence. In the past 3 years, we've been doing that across the globe, dealing with enterprise customers at large scales in multiple verticals. And the main problem that we solve for our customers is that they come to us with siloed and manual supply planning tools that really cannot keep up with the ever-changing environment. An example for that is what happened during Corona. Grace, Olive, Stan, Paul, people across the supply chain network have been facing with the challenge of changing the supply chains overnight. This is a nightmare and impossible to do with existing IT infrastructure that helps them manage the supply chain. And what we do is provide them and equip them with one platform that essentially supports live decisions throughout the supply chain and production cycles. And there are three main things that we do. So first, we deliver supply predictions, leveraging data from the enterprise systems, weather data, field information into one place for live predictions of yield, harvest timing, and crop quality. Secondly, we improve planning accuracy by delivering these actionable insights into supply and demand planning early in the season. And third, we optimize production to resolve inefficiencies and deliver opportunities to optimize food production and logistics. The main KPIs that we solve for are, first of all, improving ingredient cost, usually by 5 to 10%. And the second one is production resource utilization, where resources could be tank capacities, labor, trucks, inventory. All of that is things that we incorporate into our data sets and models, and we use our predictions to optimize. We have built a team with extreme passion to build resilient food systems. Company was founded in 2017, HQ in Tel Aviv. We're deployed right now globally in the US, Australia, New Zealand, and Israel. And the vast majority of our team comes with experience in AI, machine learning, and supply chain. 25% of the company are PhD. Highly diverse team, people experience, juniors, and also gender. And we're really happy to partner with companies that want to leverage our experience to optimize their food production operation. As a company, we are now growing, hiring, raising money, so happy to collaborate and explore synergies.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. We have time for one question before we move to the general discussion. And again, reminder, the link in the chat is for setting up one-on-ones with any of the companies for tomorrow. Going once, going twice. Last chance for questions for Trellis. Okay. Well, thank you to the companies for those presentations. Some really great technology. I like the level of innovation across so many areas. And let's begin with a general discussion on supply chain. So quick introduction. I am a 5th generation family farmer in the Salinas Valley. and all that comes with California agriculture that many of you are familiar with. My sister and I have developed over 4,400 acres of irrigated farmland the last 3 decades. I love to see the great picture from Trellis. We've got 1,400 acres of wine grapes with Mondavi that we developed about 30 years ago. Been a fantastic partnership. We've got 3,000 acres of specialty crops. As I say, when there's water and soil quality, we like to put spinach and leafy greens into play. When there's not, we do carrots and potatoes. And it's strictly a function of what kind of water and soil you end up with and where you're developing. I've also got 25 years at growth startups in Silicon Valley, including eBay, which you've heard of, 2 others you haven't, but they did get to the finish line and get acquired over the last several years, which was nice. And I've been building the #1 agri-food tech accelerator at Thrive the last couple of years, and working with corporate innovation partners like Driscoll's Berries on helping them work with startups better and faster. And I currently am a very active writer. I write a weekly newsletter called Agri-Food Tech Alchemy on Medium that focuses, no surprise, on agri-food tech innovation. So I'm passionate about the space. I love what you guys are up to. I'm a big startup evangelist and advocate. And I think this is just a perfect topic for it. So supply chain, you guys have heard a lot about what's going on. COVID ruined a whole lot of and
The streaming is a bit breaking. Is it only me?
Yeah, I think he may have disconnected.
Yeah, I can't see either.
Okay, thanks.
So I just sent Walt a message, so hopefully he can dial back in. So just in case Walt is not able to rejoin us, he is an advisor for Thrive Accelerator. And I'm just going to paste his LinkedIn here. I'm sure you can find it, but he's an incredible person and thought leader here in California, and he's available to meet with any of you and chat with you in the future. So I'm just going to paste the link, and I think that he probably is not going to be able to join. He's already left. Let's see.
So what's next? Laura, you want to take over?
Yeah, so I think we're actually wrapping up now. And so for those of you who would like to set up meetings, please do so. For people who have registered for the event today that either joined other sessions or were not able to join the plenary session, we're going to send them the link as well. And then for the breakout sessions, since we've recorded all of them, we'll be posting them to the Global SF website so that we can keep the conversation going and have this ongoing connection, if that's okay with all of you. So that if companies who are not able to join watch the presentations later on, then they can connect with you through the Israeli Trade Mission.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
It's been incredible to hear what you're building. So let's keep the partnership strong.
Thanks, Laura. Keep safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.